Hi everybody, it's Mike bringing you our thought for the day. Today is Monday the 1st of June, which means for a lot of people some things are changing. The restrictions that we've been used to for the last few weeks are starting to change, which for many people will view as a good thing. There's been a phrase that's been used a lot lately about the situation that we found ourselves in these past months, which is we're all in the same storm, but we're all in a different boat. Now, I'm in a boat this morning, as you can see, and I think that phrase is really true, because for a number of different reasons, even though we've all experienced the same restrictions and we've all been watching the same news, for some of us these last few months have been easier to deal with than others. We've all experienced the same storm, but we've all been in different boats. Now, there's a story in the Bible, a great story involving a storm and a boat, and what's happened is it's just after the feeding of the 5,000, and Jesus has sent his disciples off across a lake in a boat, and he says, I'll catch up to you. Now, just before dawn, and it is just slightly after dawn here, just before dawn, Jesus appears to the disciples walking on water, and the weather conditions are pretty horrendous, kind of unlike this morning, so you're going to have to use your imagination a little bit. It's windy, it's howling, and the boat is being rocked and buffeted by the waves. And in the midst of this, the disciples are scared, and Jesus appears to them walking on the water. Peter, one of the disciples, says, Lord, if that's really you, tell me to come to you. Seems like a strange way to test whether that's Jesus or not, but that's what he does. And Jesus says, come. So what Peter does is he steps out of the boat, and at first his feet are on the water, and he starts to walk on the water towards Jesus. Then the Bible tells us this happens. Peter sees the wind and the waves that are all around him. He takes his eyes off Jesus. Basically, he's more focused on the storm around him than on Jesus in front of him. And what happens at that point is he starts to sink. Now, this is quite unpleasant. Now, there's a couple of points I want to make to this here. Firstly, Peter has just spent months with Jesus. The day before, he'd seen him feed 5,000 people. He'd seen miracles. He'd seen it all happen. He's got Jesus stood in front of him, walking on water. And what happens? He looks at the storm around him. He starts to doubt, and he sinks. I wonder, as things start to change, as almost that security that we've had of lockdown, of where things have been very definite, start to change around us. I wonder if that's how you feel, as if that storm is starting to cause you to just maybe sink a little bit. Now, what happens to Peter at that point is he starts to sink below the waves. And what he does is he calls out to Jesus. He says, Lord, save me. And what does Jesus do? He goes to him, he picks him up out of the water, and he saves him. What a beautiful, incredible picture of who Jesus is and what Jesus does. When Peter is sinking below the waves, when it looks like the storm around him, when it looks like the situation around him is bigger than Jesus, when he's lost his focus on him, when he's starting to feel overwhelmed with doubt and sink, Jesus picks him up and saves him. So these are my two encouragements to you this morning. It's perfectly natural at points like this to find yourself being a little bit overwhelmed, to find that the situation around you might start to overwhelm you, to even doubt, to even take your eyes off Jesus for a moment. It happened to Peter, and Jesus was stood right in front of him walking on water. But, and this is a really important but, when we call out to Jesus and say, Lord, save me, he is there to save you. So if that's you this morning, you find yourself being caught up with what's going on around you, you find that you're getting that sinking feeling, then can I encourage you to call out to Jesus, Lord, save me, and he will. Have a fantastic day, have a fantastic week. I'm going to go and get dry.